Okay, so now we move on to the Penrith Panthers in the NRL 2021 season preview series. Now, last year, obviously, they won the minor premiership in admittedly a shortened season, and you can say you want to put the asterisk against that, but you have to look how many wins they got in a row, which was a club record. The fact they only had one draw and one defeat. Their form spoke for itself, and you can go, strength of schedule. They're playing against other NRL teams who've got NRL quality players. To put that in perspective, they had their own injury concerns throughout the season. They had players suspended throughout the season at various points, including Nathan Cleary missing a couple of games. Didn't actually affect them on the field. So last season they were first overall with 37 points. And in a shortened season, that is no mean achievement. Minor premiers, 18 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss. So their record did speak for itself. There is no disputing how good they were on the field. I have to admit their strengths are their player development. A lot of these players have come through at the same time through the youth system. So their youth system and their scouting, player development, how they fit these pieces into their team. There's a lot of these kids have come through together through the various grades. So they've kept a good core of them together. That bodes well. They are a production line, quite frankly. And that helps with their depth. The whole Burton situation right now is because they've got a depth in the halves. So that is the argument between Ivan Cleary and Barrett, who's now the coach of the Canterbury Bulldogs, about trying to poach Burton, is an interesting one. And Burton deputised very well when Nathan Cleary was suspended over the TikTok videos. So there you go. Their weaknesses, their big game mentality. I think, that draw, that loss, the grand final defeat, there were a few weaknesses exposed. Because they had obviously won so many games, there's obviously a high air of confidence. So it's if they can learn from that setback for this season. And the loss of Mansour and Tarmal. Mansour, I think, is a bigger loss than Tarmal. We knew Tarmal was leaving before the season was up, so they can prepare to replace him as captain. But Josh Mansour, I'm sorry, but he's a heart and soul guy. He's been at the club for years. He may not be the best player on the team. He may have had a few injuries, but in that locker room and on that field, he leads. That is going to be a big loss. When you lose characters like that who've been basic club legends on and off the field, they do have a big impact. He may not be the player who impacts the most on the field, but you've got to imagine what he has in the locker room with assisting his teammates and younger players, that energy he brings. It's going to be interesting to see how they adapt to that loss on the wing, because he is a good winger. But it's more the loss that he brings for the whole squad on the training field, with the young guys, the link between the coaching staff and the players, because he was a senior player. That's going to be interesting. I think that's a big loss. So it'll be interesting to see who they move in, who takes up that mantle of basically team leader. Someone that the younger players look up to, heart and soul guy. They have a bigger impact than people realise. My prediction is they make the grand final again with what they showed last year. A nice rematch against the Melbourne Storm would go down quite nicely. I think the first time they won the premiership overall, they lost the grand final the year before and then bounced back and then won the following year. Admittedly, they had to wait till 2003 to win it again. So they've only won it twice in my lifetime. But the first time round, they were said, this team's never going to do it again. Young team back in 1990. Fluffed their chance. 91 they win. 2003 not expected to do anything. This year they were expected to do stuff. So now maybe that expectation's been rubbed off a little bit because they've lost a few key players, because there's some squad issues with like the Burton situation and Naden failing a drugs test, and there's some issues there. People might write them off, but I don't think you should. I think that because they've got the lessons they probably would have learned, the pieces already in place, the player development there, it's a production line of talent. They've got so much talent, they don't know what to do with it. That's why players want to leave. Not because they're not happy there, it's because they're not getting game time because there's so many talented young players coming through at the same time. They've got a rich wealth of talent. They've got a settled halfback partnership. They've got a pretty settled pack. And yes, losing Mansour and Tarmow is a loss. But I do think they've got other players who are willing to step up, who showed that they were willing to step up in the season when there were players injured and suspended. My key player to watch is Nathan Cleary. Now, what's key with Cleary is, did State of Origin hurt him a little bit, and did that grand final hurt him a little bit? Because he played really, really well throughout the season. A huge step up from the season before. He's learning each game. Still a young player. But he's got to fine-tune his game a little bit. And keep the discipline as well, because those off-field dramas to begin the season, obviously, it's a black mark against him. So the discipline's got to be there. But his development as a player and as a playmaker, how much did State of Origin, was he not ready for State of Origin? Was it too soon? Question. There you go. Because he's now worn an orange and jumper and basically lost. Be clear on that. In a New South Wales side that should have, on paper, beaten Queensland in 3 games. They didn't. And there's reasons for that. But he's still going to be the key player to watch. Because of what's happening now with Burton wanting out and wanting to go to Canterbury, it's going to be crucial, because if Nathan Cleary gets injured, how much of an impact does that actually have this season on the Panthers? Because when he was out last season, Burton steps up. There's no change in how they play. Luai on the outside didn't affect him. He's a good foil. But if Cleary goes down injured this season, or gets suspended this season, or is dropped for any reason, who's going to fill his shoes? That's going to be the interesting one. So he's the key player to watch. But otherwise, they have a few more weaknesses than the Melbourne Storm, I have to admit. Just a few more. But I think at the same time, they're a younger, fresher team than the Melbourne Storm. So it's a balancing act. They're going to be my grand final predictions. I think they're the 2 teams to make it. And there's a whole host of teams that I think could make semi-finals. And then there's some teams that I'm going to be previewing who I think might get the wooden spoon this year. So, yeah, Dragons fans, your preview is going to be very interesting. But thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts below if you think that the Panthers have shot their bolt and missed their opportunity, their window to win a grand final. That's probably a fair comment. If you think they've still got more to give, let's have a see what you've got to say. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll have some more videos for you very, very soon.